I think number one thing is that we shouldn't shy away from doing complex things. More complex things are, more reward is there at the end. Now, of course, I'm saying this, without kind of considering the kind of capital requirements this kind of venture would have now in today's time. But it's not just about semiconductor, not about creating another TSMC. I'm talking about any other business that you're building. Even if you're building a chart stall, I mean, more complex, I mean to say, is more elaborate rather. I'll use the word elaborate rather than complex. Your business, more reward you will get at the end of it. Like, I don't know in whether you've been to Delhi, there is something called Bittu the Tikki, right? And I remember a few years ago when I visited, and I think when it started, he used to give you, meaning you can have that aloo tikki, one tikki for like the entire day's meal. It'll be so elaborate. And now I see he has franchises all over Delhi. Even in your weddings, I mean, people take pride in having that Biludi tikki catering done. I mean, I'm just giving you a simple example, like, make it elaborate, not complex, elaborate. So I think TSMC to me is one of those businesses and which others are shying away from. That is the other lesson, you know. And some people say others are shying away from it means you should learn that you shouldn't do it. I would say all the more reason for you to consider doing it, right? And maybe it's not possible. You may realize it, but it is possible. But others are shying away because it requires more effort, right? I think these are the two things I will say people can learn from it. And other thing which I would say, third thing I would say is there is TSMC started in the late 80s, and at that time computer industry was quite in early stages of its development, and most of the action was in US, only in US, right? Now for a company to think like this, I mean, I think that was something to be said about it, right? To build a business in Taiwan and China were not even anywhere in the picture, because I mean, those early generation of chips used to command higher premium. But for a company to think that I can do it in Taiwan and now then establish Taiwan and later on China as kind of, I would say, the world leaders in hardware manufacturing, I think that was really one of the first steps that was taken in late 80s by TSMC. So, like I was used to be told by VCs, for a good company, place does not matter. What matters is what you do, not where you do. You can build a company like TSMC in India, in Lucknow, in Madurai. I mean, location would not matter after if you really have the vision and if you have the ways to get it done, right? More elaborate the thing you're doing, I mean, the barrier to entry becomes very, very hard for others to follow suit, and that's why there are. I mean, for them, I think, of course, it's the investment requirement, the complexity, the relationships, and the whole process, perfecting the whole process. I mean, how many times you have to bake the chip to get it right? I mean, that will determine your input cost, right? And that hence the price and or your margin. So being able to do this, it's not for faint-hearted. And barrier to entry for startups, building a stronger barrier to entry for any startup is something that they should always consider. People can build another Flipkart, I'll tell you. I mean, despite all the businesses they generated, from technology perspective or from, their business was more like reaching all these places and the time advantage they had. But there have been so many other smaller sites, right, which have come up to chip away from their business now.